Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Maundy Thursday evening service. It can't be described as a Seder because it's a reworked meal intended to represent what freedom might mean for us in our world and our time, while holding on to some of the ancient pieces of food sources in our world that have come into play over the years as people celebrate their ability to move about freely, to make a life from the land, to have opportunity for families and communities. I want to especially thank Brian Webb and Karen Bridges, of course, and Aaron, who is back there, Aaron Craig, who's back on the piano, and the bell choir is with us, and you will hear from them on a fairly regular basis tonight. I think they're going to join us about 3 times, which is wonderful. You'll note that we move into the service pretty much immediately, and when we get to the end of the service, we'll all just fade away in silence. I hope you can hold this moment through into tomorrow morning when we move to the next experience in the journey of Jesus as he moved to the cross. We gather as a people of story, and on this night it is a specific story of a journey from slavery to freedom. This is the evening when we remind ourselves of our history through sharing the Jewish story of the Passover, a story shared in symbol and in word of their journey from Egypt into the wilderness and eventually to the freedom of the promised land. When our Jewish siblings tell the story from one generation to the next, they use a specific set of symbols which serve to strengthen memory. When we taste and smell, see and hear, touch and feel, the story lingers and becomes more deeply a part of us. So tonight we use all of our senses to embrace the story of what we know as Maundy Thursday. In word, food, and action, we remember or recreate a time we believe to be sacred. The traditional story begins with an act of servanthood. Mary washes Jesus' feet and anoints them with oil. Then on the night of the Passover feast, according to John, Jesus washes the feet of the disciples. We will wash our own hands. It's COVID time. As a sign of our commitment to one another to walk this journey together. And in fact, those of us in leadership will, in fact, sanitize our hands, symbolic of the time in which we are doing this service. As we do the ceremonial hand washing, the bell choir will give us an offering of this amazing piece entitled Reconciliation.
Every Jewish holiday is ushered in with candles, lit in a traditional celebration. In the Christian tradition, the candles represent the light of Christ entering in a world of darkness. We offer this blessing in preparation for the lighting of candles. From the hearts of our grandparents to our own hearts, we bless these candles. From all those ancestors who have come before us and have filled our past, we bless those no longer with us. From all those children who are with us in the present, we bless love and friendship. From all those who work the earth and produce sustaining food for us, we bless the seasons. From the full moon who comes to us over and over again, offering renewal, we bless this sacred time.
Our feast includes some traditional foods from the Jewish tradition: bread, rice, crackers. It also includes a number of foods from present time with an opportunity to have conversation about the importance of each as symbolic of our faith journey.
We begin with the meal of the first days of freedom with bread, manna. The initial days of freedom are a time when celebration and fear intermingle. The people begin with great celebration. Miriam sings, the women dance. However, 3 days in, reality sets in. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. Basically, as I read it, the people have been looked after by others for so long that they become terrified at the prospect of having to depend on themselves and God. And so we eat bread and consider an overwhelming moment when looking after ourselves seemed to be too much to ask. This is the bread of liberation, of rebellion, regardless of the moments of discouragement.
While we consider those overwhelming moments, we dip a finger in a bowl of salt water and paint tears on our face. The journey of life is never without tears. Moving from dependence on Pharaoh to dependence on God is often painful and filled with grief.
Simply saved us, merely brought us out of Egypt, only split the Red Sea, made a way through walls of water, only opened up the waters. Dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, 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 da dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, dayenu, dayenu. If our God had kept our feet dry, kept our heads above the waters, kept us safely without drowning, Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, 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 da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu.
Grape juice, wine. We pour and drink our first cup. In the traditional Seder, 4 cups of wine are consumed. They offer an opportunity to recall that the time is always pruned back to its stump. And every year, it looks as if it will never produce again. Yet every year, its branches bring forth flowers and put forth leaves once more. We can learn from the vine and from the changing seasons that the thing which looks like an end is often a resting period for the new to begin. We dedicate the first cup of wine to all our forebears in the faith, to those women and men who continued with the cycle of faith communities, even in the face of annihilation.
We drink the first cup.
If our God had brought us over, led us safely onto dry land, even though it was a desert, Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, 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 da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. If our God had only led us, only gone ahead to guide us, given cloud and fire to lead us, Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, 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 da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. If our God had only brought us to the awful fire at Sinai, filled us all with dread at Sinai, Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, 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 da Dayenu, da Dayenu, da Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu.
Hummus. Hummus is made all over the world. It's not just in Israel where people argue over the best hummus. Palestinians, Egyptian, Arabs, Greeks, and other Middle Eastern and Mediterranean countries also claim hummus as their dish. As to where it truly comes from, no one can say for certain, though the earliest mention of the spread dates back to Egypt during the 13th century. The truth is, hummus has been made all over these areas for hundreds of years, a dish likely imported west from the chickpeas growing Arab countries to Greece. There isn't a big difference in the recipe. Wars are fought over hummus. Hummus might just make you wanna. Hummus is crazy healthy, and hummus is not only for pita. Each country has one basic nutritional all-purpose food. It might be rice, it might be potatoes, it might be taro, it might just be hummus. Hummus is one of those foods that is served worldwide. It is nutritious and might be considered a food that unifies us all. It is a wonderful food with which to celebrate community. So let us join together in eating some hummus with crackers as we listen to the sound of the bells playing Darkest Hour.
The second cup is the cup of courage. And we dedicate this cup to all the people everywhere who have dared to be prophetic in the face of hardship. As we drink of this cup, we remember the courage gained from community, even if the community be an underground one. I have a quote from myself. Some people might say I wrote this so I could quote myself, but it had a moment where it seemed fitting. From the book Embracing the Exile. Lesbians must beware of the voices which would urge us to quietly pass as heterosexuals. We must beware the voices which suggest the closet is a place of safety. The closet indeed may be seen as a place of relative safety, of sanctuary in an ongoing struggle for freedom from oppression. However, if we choose the closet as our only reality, we may be choosing to save our bodies at the cost of our souls.
The scriptures refer to the 10 plagues of Egypt: blood, frogs, lice, gnats and flies, anthrax, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and death. There are also 10 plagues of modern-day oppression: rape, sexism, classism, homophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, misogyny, fascism, destruction of nature, destruction of living beings. The night calls us to courage, the courage to be prophetic, the courage to stand in direct opposition to the death-dealing forces of Pharaoh. We drink of the cup of courage.
If our God had spoken
I once heard it said that if you do not like olives, just eat 7. Now, some folk would say, why would I bother? But like so many things in life, sometimes the things which are, in fact, the healthiest for us take a little getting used to. It took 40 years in the wilderness for God to remove the slavery from the people. It may take 7 repetitions for God to slowly extract us from the grip of the junk food of Pharaoh. That particular junk food is made up of our addiction to consumerism, to having more things, to selfishly taking all that we can from life rather than sharing the abundance we have. A simple olive is a kindly reminder that even things which take some getting used to are things which ease our pain and give us new life. I invite you to eat an olive or 7.
Grapes have a long and abundant history. While they're growing wild since prehistoric times, evidence suggests they were cultivated in Asia as early as 5000 BC. The grape also played a role in numerous biblical stories, being referred to as the fruit of the vine. Grapes were also pictured in hieroglyphics in ancient Egypt burial tombs. During the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations, grapes were revered for their use in winemaking. The grape is the fruit of the vine, and Jesus also referred to it. And Jesus is also referred to as the fruit of the vine. Through both, there is an offering of a simple but enriched life.
Grape. Now I warn you, immediately following the olive, the grape might taste a little on the sour side. Funny how life is like that. They're not bad. The third cup is dedicated to the prophets among us. The biblical figure of Deborah was a judge and a leader. She gathered and transformed the Jewish people, creating a sense of justice among them. She organized the Jews against oppression, and she held her court under a palm tree because she refused to be alone with a man in her house. We remember the First Nations people who were systematically annihilated. We remember the dislocation created by residential schools. We remember the violence done to members of the LGBTQ2+ community. We remember political prisoners, the children held in jail cells, those who have been persecuted for their political or religious beliefs. And as we remember, we also affirm ourselves for the times when we, like Deborah, have been the prophetic voice in the wilderness. And so we drink of the third cup for the prophets.
dates and cheese. Dates appear to be one of the oldest foods and one of the most cherished. But perhaps the most interesting piece of knowledge is that a date palm seed was sprouted after accidentally being stored for 2,000 years. Fossil records show that the date palm has existed for at least 50 million years.
Dates have been a staple food of the Middle East and of the Indus Valley for thousands of years. There is archaeological evidence of date cultivation in eastern Arabia between 5,530 and 5,320 BC. They are believed to have originated around what is now Iraq and have been cultivated since ancient times from Mesopotamia to prehistoric Egypt. The ancient Egyptians used the fruits to make date wine and ate them at harvest. Our faith may burst into fruition at any point in our lifetime. We may discover ourselves awakened to the challenge, the forces of death around us, even if the seed of revolution has lain dormant in us for many years.
In many parts of Europe and the Middle East, dates are eaten with cheese. The sweetness of the date is tempered by the savory of the cheese. Resistance to the death-dealing forces around us requires persistence and patience, and above all, determination. There was a calm, steady focus about the resistance of Jesus. There was a calm, steady focus in the resistance of Nellie McClung. There is a calm, steady focus in the resistance of our Muslim siblings. I want to share with you a brief piece from the book Like an Orange on a Seder Plate. For the times when we do not know which way to go but move forward anyway. For the times when immediate action is required and we are able to act swiftly. For the times when immediate action is the easy answer and we wait and let the truth ripen. For the times when we do not know enough to make a decision, but we must decide, and so we do. For the times when we have a hunch, a flash, a knowing that comes to us without our knowledge, which we use to guide us. For our half-thought dreams, our visions, the farthest reaches of what we think we can become, for movement despite our fears, despite obstacles and delays, in times when movement means growth and life. To all these times, to action, movement, intuition, dreaming, we dedicate this meal. Cheese and dates. Well, try it. You never know.
Dry bread and water, and not laid on milk and honey. Dienu, da, dienu, da, dienu, da, dienu, 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 da, dienu, da, dienu, da, dienu, dienu, dienu. If our God had fed us, only feasted us upon mountain, not inviting all our neighbors. Dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, 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 da dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, dayenu, dayenu. But our God who holds the banquet calls the whole world into freedom, opens up the new creation. Dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, 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 da dayenu, da dayenu, da dayenu, dayenu, dayenu.
The courage and hope of many of our assemblies in the face of unutterable brutality and despair is inspiring. We drink the fourth cup, remembering their courage, and hope that we also have the strength and the courage to continue to resist oppression. We long for the laws of patriarchy to give way to peace and freedom and place where we will be able to love whomever we choose and to create strong, inclusive communities of freedom and right relationship.
A fourth cup.
From the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, verse 19 to 20. Then he took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And he did the same with the cup after supper, saying, "This cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood."
At the end of the Passover celebration with the disciples, Jesus basically points to a new way by which they might remember the resistance. He speaks of himself as the bread and the wine. He points to his way of living in an unjust world as the way to stand fast against the death-dealing rules of Pharaoh. The new community of the way moves to using two simple symbols of bread and of wine to remind them of the flight from Egypt, plus the living example of Jesus showing them in a concrete, visible manner how to live resistance to oppression. I've changed up the freedom foods just slightly for our celebration tonight. You're invited to share in a muffin, or alternatively, or maybe both, a Timbit. I hope you also have at hand a beverage. For we gather in many places, around kitchen tables, in coffee houses, as well as in churches, to discover the ways of moving from slavery to freedom. Coffee and muffins have become a staple communion at many kitchen tables. I invite you into the future community of standing in resistance to oppression by inviting you to share in coffee and muffins and, of course, Timbits. Now, we have water and muffins and Timbits. Makes perfect sense, and if you want to have coffee or tea or water or juice, the thing is, when we sit at table together, we virtually always offer a beverage. A cup of water is a sign of hospitality. So, muffins, water, Timbits, and as we do those things, and as we listen to the bell choir, I want to invite us also to move in our minds to a place which for us would be representative of the garden, where we will engage a final prayer before we leave to keep watch until the morning. A moment in prayer. Holy Mystery, Dayenu. It is enough. It is enough that you led us through the waters into a new land. Dayenu, it is enough. It is enough you offered us milk and honey, a prescription for new life, a promise of hope. Dayenu, it is enough. And it is not over. And we are grateful that you continue with the promise, that you continue to carry us into new places, into new ways of being, into new hope. But on this night as we face our fears, our longings, our depression, our loneliness, as we look at all of the ways in which it seems the world has begun to turn awry, we ask one thing only, and that would be that you would stay with us through this night, that you would carry us and hold us until we can again breathe deeply and know new life.
Stranger, till the